Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Perustopia live show for this amazing book. It's called Stealing Snow by Danielle Paige, and I just put it in a puddle of water. Oops.
Way to go, Sasha. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. There's so much water over here. I have no idea how that happened. But we're so excited to be doing this live show. This is a spoilery live show, so make sure that if you have not read this book yet and you don't want to be spoiled, that you leave after we give our opinions on the books. But if you want to get a spoiler-free review, Reagan has her review up right now, and mine is going up later this week. So stay tuned for that. So want to go into it, Reagan?
Yeah. Also, one quick thing. If you want to ask us any questions about the book or just about life in general, just go ahead and tweet us or use the hashtag Perustopia, because that's how we like to keep track of that. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So go do that now, because we're really excited. And at the end of the live show, we're going to be announcing our November book of the month, which we're really excited about.
Yeah. Super pumped. So The Snow Queen by Danielle Paige, as many of you know if you've read it, but just in case you're watching this and you're just wanted to watch, is a dark retelling of the Snow Queen folktale, and it follows our main character Snow, and at the beginning of the novel, she is in an insane asylum. She's been admitted there for mysterious reasons that we're not quite told, and then every night she starts dreaming of this tree, and then one night she's pulled into this tree into another world that has been totally frosted over by ice by the evil king, and she's kind of thrown into this adventure. So my thoughts about this book is, I've done a full review. I ended up giving it about a 2.75 stars. I thought it had a lot of promise, and it has some elements that I really enjoyed, but then there were some parts that necessarily weren't totally my favorite, but I think that's more chalked up to personal preference than necessarily the fact that the book itself was super flawed. Personally, I loved the beginning. The insane asylum, the medical ward setting I thought was very interesting, dark, creepy. It kept me guessing, and I was very much on the edge of my seat trying to figure out, like, what was going on. Like, is this reality? Is this just an illusion? Kind of that perspective. I also just, I don't know. Those kind of places just kind of creep me out. And I think, not that they, like, obviously how it was written, it was designed to creep you out. Obviously, it felt very much like a turn-of-the-century creepy insane asylum, not so much like a properly conducted modern-day like mental institution where people actually receive proper care and help. This is not one of those places. So it was just a really interesting and cool setting. Also, when she went into the new world, I thought that world was really cool. I appreciated that there were different types of witches that she encountered, as well as the fact that it was just like this barren snow landscape that I thought was really neat. I liked her journeys to meet these kind of different cast of characters throughout the story. You know, like she met this thief gang, she met the people with the river witch and stuff like that. My only complaint with that is I felt like from point A to point B to point C, it was a little disjointed. Like it wasn't very connected on how she like decided to go from one place to another. And I think kind of my biggest thing with this book that I think stuck out to me most, that it might not bother everyone at all, but for me there was that love square that kind of threw me out. It wasn't two love interests. There was 3 to pick from. It was like too much. I didn't even know who to even begin to side with. It was just like confusing, and it was like a lot to pick from.
Yeah, I thought that this book going into it was going to be a love triangle. So when the love square happened, I was like, oh wow, that was kind of shocking because I personally have never experienced a love square before. Like Whitney's behind this camera right now. Whitney novels, if you guys don't know who she is. So she was telling me, she's like, Ember in the Ashes has one. I'm like, I did not even pick up on it.
Square? Ember in the Ashes has a love square?
It's like kind of.
I read that. I don't remember that.
Like, never mind.
Okay, she's like ignoring me.
I read that book. I don't remember there being a love square in that.
Yeah, maybe there's one. Maybe some people ship characters.
Not all 3 guys that are going after her, but it's like.
Oh, it's like a lot of people. Yeah. Oh, I can see that.
Elias and Helene.
There's a lot of people that like each other, but no, so when I went into it, I was like, oh wow, that's shocking, and I did enjoy this book. I really love the Snow Queen story, like the original one, and so I really think that was a unique take that Danielle took in this, because she chose a story that hasn't been really recreated, and she recreated it in a way that was kind of like for the young adult audience, and I really enjoyed that because the original tale was supposed to be like really creepy, and I was happy to see that this one wasn't as creepy, but it still was creepy in the aspects of like the insane asylum, and I agree It was really creepy setting. And then I enjoyed this book. I really did. I really loved Danielle's writing. I would give this like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like I did enjoy it. And the only complaint I would have out of this is that the story, like the settings were a little bit jumbled, and I would like more of a distinct characterization of each place and more world building, because this world seems so interesting. I kind of pictured it as Narnia before,
for sure.
Yeah, so I kind of picture it as Narnia, but like I wish it was more explained. But other than that, like I love Danielle's writing, and I think that this world can be expanded in the next series, in the next books, and I'm really excited to see that, because I know that this world can really be expanded to a really good extent.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree what you said about Danielle's writing. Like, her writing was there. Like, it was, like, I really enjoyed her descriptions, and kind of, when we got them, I really just wanted more from it, because everything that she did, I enjoyed. I just wanted a little bit more.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I also really liked reading about Snow, like, coming into her powers, kind of learning and becoming more comfortable with herself and stuff like that. I thought that was interesting. And this book I thought had, like, and it's like the plot twist at the end of this book, I definitely didn't see coming. I don't know. Did you?
No, actually I didn't. When are we talking about the same plot twist with the mom?
Yeah, the mom.
Yeah, the mom one. I was really shocked, because I always saw like the dad being bad.
I forgot about that girl.
Yeah, I was like, dang, I did not see that coming. And some people like say like, oh, I saw it coming, but a lot of people were like, no, I didn't. And so I think it was a really interesting kind of twist at the end to add on, and it'll be definitely something interesting to see carried on throughout the rest of the series. It's usually just one person that's evil.
I know. Well, I thought it was interesting because like the whole book, and normally I'm pretty good at sniffing out twists. I think it's because like she was briefly kind of talked about in the beginning, and then like talked about her mother, like her marrying the king and stuff, and you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. And this whole time you're like, obviously the Snow King is the mastermind behind everything. Like, he's the evil one. But like, while the Snow King's evil, like clearly the mom is the mastermind. You know what I mean? Like, he's the planner of everything. Yeah. And I was like, dang, girl, I kind of like, it's bad to say that while I don't like evil, I love evil way more when it comes from a badass woman. Yeah, like, I like her. Cool. I also like appreciate that she's like manhandling this king and like manipulated everyone and fooling everyone. Like, I kind of got some respect for that a little bit.
Yeah, and it was like really cool because I definitely did not see that coming. And like, Danielle's one of my good friends, and like having her have this plot twist, I just kind of want to like call her up and be like, how did you like make that happen? Like, I'm so curious because I just noticed I don't have a ponytail, and I'm like doing my hair like I should be. Whitney took it. Okay, Whitney, it's okay. She's here. Threw it on me. I don't know where it is. Anyways, yeah, so I thought that this book, like, I think that was a very unique retelling. I'm really curious to see how the next books are going to play out. I thought it was definitely an interesting take after reading her Dorothy series and then seeing her jump into this new retelling. She's definitely one of the authors that do retellings like really uniquely and well, and I really want to know what's next for the series because I really hope that it expands its horizons and the characters develop more, and I want to see like, will Bale, like, pull through, and will Jagger, like, is his name Jagger, right? Mm-hmm. Jagger. Like, I want to know what's going on with that, and I want the love square to be resolved because I don't want that to be the main focus of it. I want it to be mainly about her and her powers and her regaining the throne. Yeah, so that's really, like, where I'm coming from with this. Like, I want to see her more.
Do you think the guy's dead?
What?
Do you think the guy's dead?
No, I don't think he's dead. He's going to be a pawn. He's going to be a pawn in her games. In the evil mother's games. I'm still trying to find my ponytail.
Yeah.
Is it behind me? Oh, it's way behind me. Okay. Got it. Want to answer some of the questions that we have? Do you have the live chat pulled up?
Yeah, I am pulling it up now. A lot of people are just talking about how hungry they are on said live chat.
So I have a question from Maddie the reader, and she has thoughts on Bale, Jagger, and Kai. I think that I really love Jagger. I feel like his character was just so well developed. Yeah. And, you know, Kai, like, wasn't the biggest fan of him, but Jagger I was, and Bale I was really excited about too.
I liked Bale. I thought he was interesting, though. I mean, it was hard for me to buy into him just because he did break her wrist at the beginning of the story. So I was like, I don't know, because regardless, I'm not into any type of abuse. I don't, obviously, anyone should be. But I mean, while obviously he was possessed, so I don't know if it counts or...
Yeah, it's a difficult...
It's a confusing scenario. kind of confuses me a little bit because like I appreciate his devotion to his sister. I'll put that in air quotes, but like their kiss seemed kind of like out of nowhere, right? Like he just like kissed, and I was like, what the hell? And then like they never talked about it. Yeah. I was like, guys, is no one else? Is it just me? And I'm like
what's going on? I don't know.
This kiss or
as much as I like.
Jagger had a swagger.
Yeah, I whenever I heard Jagger's name, I'm like, oh, he has swag. One thing that I think that could have been without in the story is just Kai altogether. I don't know if that's like bad or anything, but I feel like he could be meshed into one of the other characters. But all in all, like I feel like I loved like the robbers. I loved like the witches, like the Witch of the Woods, the River Witch. I like having those aspects put in there as well. I feel like there was a very well thought out cast of characters in the story that I cannot wait to hear more about in the next novel, because I feel like this was just an introduction to this world, and we're going to get a more fluid understanding of it in the next few novels.
I really liked the thief group or the I thought that was interesting. I liked how they stole faces, like they stole everything, and like magic was stolen too.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
Really looks like.
Yeah, I pictured like that's a good question.
Because everyone steals faces.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool aspect of the story, just because like
maybe they get drones.
Yeah, that does. And I feel like that is such a unique concept that isn't utilized enough, because like stealing faces or stealing somebody's identity is something that can be so underutilized in literature. And I know that some people will be like, oh, it's like Game of Thrones, but also it's like, hey, nothing's original nowadays. Like nothing can be original, even though that is pretty original. But like I think that using that in this book kind of made the magic kind of different from other fantasy novels.
Well, I just liked how for all of them it was about stealing magic, and then they sold magic in like little vials, and each bit of magic like did something differently. And I found that to be so interesting. I almost even wanted more information about it, like more of an origin story about the magic in this world, because some people seem to like be born with it, like the Snow Witch, or rather Snow, and then some people stole it, like Dagger and his group of. So I'm like, I wonder how that works.
I know.
More.
I want to hear what like Danielle's inspiration of like just this world was, because I really picture like the end scene, kind of like the end scene of Narnia, where they're all fighting, and like from what I remember from seeing the movies way long ago and reading the books way long ago, but like the end scene, I just pictured it like that, and I really liked that, like Snow using her power, and I like how her power was not unlimited.
Yeah.
It ended at some point. And like a lot of the times in books, sometimes writers forget that this power, like you will get exhausted, you will run out. And I liked how Danielle utilized that fact. And I thought it was really interesting how she made her power not limitless, but limited.
And the fact that while she learned how to use her powers pretty quickly, like she's obviously not an expert because she doesn't know everything about her powers. And ultimately that's what made her unable to defeat the Snow King at that point in time, because she tried to do something, and in doing so, like you mentioned, it put such limits on her power.
Yeah. And I like how she didn't win. Because if that happened, it would have been too perfect. And for like a short time when she was like beating her father, like I was like, oh, okay, so this is great, but I hope that there is more to this than just her beating her father. And I'm really glad that there was more to the story, because I think that this opens up so many more character development traits to her that shows like, you know, she isn't perfect, she is defeatable, and she will have her ups and downs, and this is just one of the downs, and I'm really excited to see how she can grow through this experience.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. What should we talk about next? Do we have any questions?
Let me check over here. Okay, here's a question that I have for you, Reagan, and I'll answer it after. So if you could retell any fairy tale, what would it be? Or tale or like story?
That's a good question.
Isn't it a good one? Because like you only think about
I want to like make sure I like when I say this, I want it to be like a good one, not like Cinderella. Well, not that that's not a good one. I love Cinderella, but I want like a different
unique one that's special to you. Like for me, like I've always loved the Arabian Nights. Like I've loved it for years, and like even before a lot of the retellings came out about it, like I've always wanted to retell something of that. And I have like a book idea kind of for this, but not based off of it, but I kind of gained inspiration from those stories in that like set of stories, and like I think that would be something fun to retell and twist into a modern day aspect. But I would love to retell some Celtic folklore.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool Scandinavian folklore that I think is really neat. Specifically, there's one about women. It's like a werewolf riff, but they're more like women, and they. I don't remember, but there's like a catalyst for them becoming these like creatures that come out at night. I don't remember the catalyst, but it's like very dark, and it's mostly just basically it's a story that came out of like villainizing independent women. But like, what's new, am I right? But it's an interesting story still.
Yeah, that is really cool. And like, you know, I feel like so many retellings nowadays like can be twisted and turned into something that is barely recognizable to the original one, but still gain understanding as to why it would be retold as this way. Like, for example, A Court of Thorns and Roses, it's a retelling of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Like, yes. And I think that the way that Sarah twisted it was that it didn't seem like a retelling because it just took the aspect of like Tamlin being the Beast and like Farah being the Beauty, and she has this love for art, not reading.
But there's it's gotten a lot more complicated.
I'm just like,
you thought it was Tomlin just being able to transform, but then you realize that the Beast isn't who you initially thought, and that he was cursed for different reasons, and that you'll fall madly in love with him.
Whitney's getting really excited.
Listen, I'm a strong proponent. Like, have you read the sequel to The Court of Thorns and Roses?
Oh yeah.
So, like, literally, I was not going to continue on with that series. Like, I was one of the people that I was like, I was like, it's pretty good, but like, And then I saw like one review, and I was going on vacation, so I was like, I'll read it, and then I read it in 3 days and died, basically.
Yeah, I read it in like a week because I did not want it to end. Like, that's a really good storytelling, and like that's why I was actually really excited to read Stealing Snow because it comes from the same publisher, and I want to see like if it's the same editor who edits Sarah's. I'm actually quite curious about this. I love reading the acknowledgments, and shout out to Danielle for putting me in them. She's awesome. But there's let's see. Oh yeah, I think that's the same one. But you could tell that like Bloomsbury loves like retellings, but like not like stone cold retellings that are exactly like it. And I like that. I think that's a really good thing to have because it can help bring in other authors to like the publishers and with this inspiration, and you know that they are already like on board with that idea, and I think that's really cool. But yeah, so like I really love retellings, and I think that a lot of the time people think of retellings as just like Disney retellings, like Disney stories. But there's so many, you can retell pretty much anything that is a story from any point in time. You can retell Beowulf if you want to.
You can retell. Well, I like retellings a lot, personally. Sorry, I'm eating sour straws because I'm an adult.
Don't worry. We're like hearing the neighbors literally like stomp on the ceiling and it's like falling down. Like the ceiling is so thin. I feel like they're gonna fall through.
I like retellings particularly because stories in general, at their root, are a product of the time period in which they are written in. Yeah. They are in some way inspired by the social, political, economic conditions of their time. And that by a product, they're designed to do something for the people that create them and listen to them. Yeah. Solace, happiness, warnings, whatever. They are created for such a reason. Yeah. So I like retellings because they, at their root, they have this service to society. And just because their story might be antiquated, by retelling them, you can make it relevant to now. Yeah, exactly. Because obviously a lot of the things that we see in stories are always going to be relevant, you know, hope, loss, pain, acceptance. But some things get a little more complicated. That's why I like retellings. And I also find them to be historically interesting too. Yeah, I agree. There could be so much, like any time, like what you're saying, like any time period, like that they're written in, there's some type of reflection almost from that time period and that are kind of like reflected in the story. And it's just interesting.
Do you know what actually I found funny was that when I went into Stealing Snow, I thought that like she wasn't gonna be pulled through a tree, but I thought she was gonna be pulled through like a mirror.
Oh yeah, because I was like, because she got cut or whatever.
Yeah. So I was like pretty sure about that. I know she walked through the mirror, but I thought that was gonna be like kind of like happening again and like kind of kind of like a mirror image to what happened to her before that ended her up in the sane asylum. But like, I think that would have been like really cool. But the tree was cool too because I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, oh.
This is like more of a logistical question. How does one? So she had all the scars, and like she tried to walk through a mirror with some other girl when she was much younger. How does that even look? How do you walk? Like, is it like this, or does she like walk straight into it? Like, you know?
I was thinking about that because I have a mirror over there in my house, like right there, and I was thinking like, I think that it was like maybe like a floor length mirror, and like maybe she like power walked into it.
Yeah, because I'm like, she had to have been like aggressively walking
like,
at the mirror to like to make it shatter all over her body and cut herself in
seriously.
a whole bunch of different directions.
Yeah, I think that it was like something like that because that was pretty deep scarring if you think about it.
Yeah.
It probably was really bad. And if you think about it, there probably was something magical happening to that as well where it caused viewers. I don't know. That's what I was thinking. But like, yeah, that is a good point. And I've seen some people bringing up that point being like, how did that happen? I'm so curious.
These are the questions that haunt me.
But actually, sometimes I'm like so curious about these like questions that aren't necessarily answered and it's up to your own interpretation almost.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder what other people think. What was that? Do you just hear that? Yeah. What's happening? They're being so loud. Oh, I think they're in the garage. Their garage is on the opposite end of mine.
So, Sasha, someone asked, because I know you've read a lot of Danielle Page's books, so someone asked, how is this book different from other Danielle Page books?
Well, I think that this one definitely has, I mean, like all our books are kind of fantastical, but I feel like this one has even more fantastical trait to them because she actually, like, I know that, like, in Dorothy Mustache Goes to Oz and stuff, but I feel like we know about Oz already. We know, like, her Oz is different, of course, but we kind of know that story. And for this one, not a lot of people know about the Snow Queen, and they don't know what to expect once they get to the world that the Snow Queen, like, resides in. And I feel like that's what's the most different aspect about it because there's more imagination at play in this one, and it's really, like, you don't know about the story necessarily beforehand, at least I didn't, and that's what comes, like, into play when I think about it. I think about it as in, it's kind of like, I don't know this world, so making it up and like kind of going with Danielle's writing really is a different experience than what it was with Dorothy Must Die.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think that as someone, like, I think it's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, the Snow Queen, it's like, we've all heard of it, especially with Elsa.
Oh, yeah.
Like, honestly, I'm not super at all familiar with the original story at all. So
I only know what Danielle told me.
Yeah, and literally, like, while I wasn't super familiar with the story, that didn't make the story hard for me to follow in it by any means. Like, she just did a really good job, like, setting everything up and explaining everything as well, so you weren't confused if you were not familiar with the original story. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that was, like, very interesting, and I really liked seeing her kind of expand into different types of writing because, like, especially I love Dorothy. I was really excited for her to start this new journey in writing with starting a new series, and that's always exciting with authors because you get to see them kind of in a new. Whitney's like really like staring at my shelf, like really concentrated by doing. She's like, sorry, I'm like she's looking up.
Like, where's Rysand?
I know, like where's Warner? But yeah, like I think that like taking the step for Danielle like was like it's always scary, but I think that she did it like really well, and you know I think that I just can't wait to see the rest of her career and the rest of this like series develop because I think there's a lot that can be developed, and there's a lot of world building that can be expanded on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's always great. I like when like the world still has something to be built on. Like at least coming from me and writing my own novel and like experiencing that, like the first draft, you have this world built, but then the second one, you actually go into it more and get deeper into it. And I feel like you don't want to get too deep into it that it like just confuses the reader, but it's all about moderation in each novel with giving them what they need to know now and a little bit extra. And then the next one, you follow up on that little extra and just keep on building it up and up. At least that's how I see it in writing and like reading. How I like it, I don't want to have an information explosion happen on the page.
Yeah, an information dump, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, we've almost been at it for 30 minutes. Do you want to go ahead and jump into our November pick? Because it's
I'm going to get it. Reagan, would you like to do honors? And
Sure. So I'm so excited about this next book because we have literally I've heard nothing but amazing things. People are comparing this book, like these are some big phrasing. People are saying this is as good or better, apparently, than the Hunger Games.
What? I never heard that. Whoa.
Yeah, that's what people are saying. Like this is a big book release apparently. But Our November pick is The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid. And this is a science fiction novel that is just like all about like revenge and all things like that. It just sounds amazing.
Yeah, it does sound amazing. I'm just
Like,
reading.
let me read the first part of this book. For
Yeah.
Nemesis, okay, so nothing can prepare you for Nemesis. A diabolic is ruthless. A diabolic is powerful. A diabolic has a single task: kill in order to protect the person you've been created for. For Nemesis, that person is Sidonia, heir to the Galactic Senate, but when the power-mad Emperor summons Sidonia to Galactic Court as hostage, there's only one way for Nemesis to protect Sidonia. She must become her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It
That
just sounds crazy cool. And it's like
yeah.
science fiction, and there's so much drama, and I am just interested.
And it's like, you know, they do a good job of summarizing this book in like the most minimal way like as possible, but while giving away like that it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. That's always my favorite type of synopsis, I'll say.
Yes, always the best. Well, I think that is all for today's video. If you guys want to go join our book club group, we have it down below. If you want to go check out Reagan, I'll be linking her channel down below as well. And yes, I'll be linking Danielle's books and The Diabolic down below as well for you guys to check out. So please join us next month with our Diabolic book review and our book talk on it. We're really excited for it. Anything else to say, Reagan?
No, I think you covered it all, Sasha.
Awesome. Perfect. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.